CBSE Board, Class 9, History, Chapter 2, Part 4, Audio by Renee Matthew. So we know that all the workers got together, they were encouraged to get together to increase and improve their living conditions, their working conditions, and the first cooperative or the group international body which was formed by the workers was the Second International. In Germany, these associations worked closely with the Social Democratic parties. The same thing was happening in Germany also, but there these kind of national bodies formed by the workers were working together with the SPD, which is the Social Democratic Party, and helped in winning the parliamentary seats. So when they work closely with these kind of parties from the government, they're also helping them to win parliamentary seats for a majority, and that was also a particular point of the socialist group. By 1905, socialists and trade unionists formed a labor party. So this is something that we see now. So the emergence of labor parties started from then, from socialism, where trade unions were also formed, and that was known as the Labor Party. So Germany was a real role model to everybody in terms of that. So the Labour Party formed in Britain, and a Socialist Party also formed in France. However, till 1914, Socialists never succeeded in forming a government. So it never succeeded in forming a government as it is written here. So though they tried their level best to work closely with the government parties and all that. And especially in Europe, they did not succeed in forming a government represented by strong figures in parliamentary politics. Their ideas did not shape legislation, which means that some of the ideas were not tuned for judiciary and legislation. It couldn't be implemented simply because it was not possible. But governments continued to be run by conservatives, liberals and radicals. So though it was not implemented, though they were not able to shape the legislation, though they were not able to come under the power of law, though they were not able to overtake the government, still you can see that the conservatives, liberals and radicals ruled the government at that time, ruled the people at that time. They were so important still in spite of it. The Russian Revolution. Now we are coming to the Russian Revolution. We saw what is socialism. We saw what is the basic ideology of communism. We saw Labour Party. Why they have put all these topics for you is to understand. You have to understand how these things shape the government in Russia also, because you will come across these terms in Russian Revolution. Now that you're clear with all these terms, you'll be very happy to learn about the revolution in Russia. So if you're not sure of it, please go back to those slides, understand the points, and then come back for your better comprehension. Now let's begin with the Russian Revolution. In one of the least industrialized of European states, this situation was reversed. So in Russia, you have to understand that many industries did not come up. Many people were not traveling to the urban places or to the industries, and they were just okay with whatever they had. Socialists took over the government in Russia through the October Revolution of 1917. So, socialism was an ideology which was growing in whole of Europe. But because there was no industry, there was no much change in Russia, automatically they were giving space to socialism. The fall of monarchy in February 1917 and the events of October are normally called the Russian Revolution. So, there are two events. One is overthrowing the monarchy. Here also people were not happy with the monarchy or the king that was ruling, and the king who was ruling Russia is known as Tsar, T-S-A-R. So two events. One is overthrow of monarchy in February 1917 and the October Revolution. These two are known as the Russian Revolution. Now we have to consider 2 points here. One is, how did this come about? What led to these two events? What were the social and political conditions in Russia when the revolution occurred? So, what gave space? Without giving space to such kind of agitation, no government or no political party will take over. So, there was a crust and trough and up and down which was faced by the Russian Revolution also. So different places will have different factors. Like in France, it was something different. In Russia, let's see what caused these two events which shook Russia. To answer these questions, let us look at Russia a few years before the revolution. The Russian Empire in 1914. When did the other two events take place? 1917. Okay, so in 1914, what happened? In 1914, Tsar Nicholas II, so he was a ruler, ruled Russia and its empire. Besides the territory around Moscow, the Russian Empire included current-day Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, parts of Poland, Ukraine and Belarus. All these places were under the Tsar. Alright, that was the Russian Empire. It was not the country, it was the empire. So, it stretched to the Pacific and comprised today's Central Asian states, as well as Georgia, Armenia and Azerbaijan. All these places were under Tsar. It was under the Russian Empire, a big empire. The majority religion was Russian Orthodox Christianity. It was not the Church of England. It was neither the Catholic Church. It was Orthodox Christianity, which had grown out of the Greek Orthodox Church. So their beliefs were more consecrated, they were more conservative and all that, more orthodox in nature, not very broad-minded. But the empire also included Catholics, Protestants, Muslims and Buddhists. So these were not found in the other parts. Alright, these were not found in Britain. Here there was Orthodox Christianity, which was the majority, and then you had Catholics, Protestants, Muslims and the Buddhists. Alright, okay. So this was the condition of Russia before the revolution. Now let's see more. Can you see the picture of Tsar Nicholas II? Yes, so he was the ruler. Can you see the map on the slide? The map shows the Russian Empire and the European continents at war during the First World War. It was a huge empire. Okay, Central powers were there. All the other places, the neutral states, that is in light gray color. Central power is in pink color. We will see about this map later. So this is the total Russian Empire and also the European countries which were at war during the First World War. Economy and society. So what happened? Let's take a look at the economy and society of Russia. At the beginning of the 20th century, the vast majority of Russia's people were agriculturists. They depended on agriculture, about 80% of Russia's empire's population. They earned their living from agriculture. Earlier also we saw that they did not have many industries, so they were more interested in agriculture and that was their source of living. This proportion was higher than in most European countries because Europe was more interested in industries. They did not have any agriculture. Where was the time for agriculture there? But Russians were not like that. For instance, in France and Germany, the proportion was between 40% and 50%. That is in agriculture, alright? This is the percentage for agriculture. In the empire, cultivators produced for the market as well as for their own needs. So they will have some for themselves and some they will sell in the market. And Russia was a major exporter of grain. So it was going very peacefully there where cultivators produced for the market and for themselves. And it was a major exporter of grain. Keep that point in mind. This was before the revolution, alright? Okay. Industry was found in pockets. It's not that no industries were there, but there were a few industries here and there, just for the production of grain maybe. Prominent industrial areas were St. Petersburg and Moscow, very important places in the history of Russia. St. Petersburg and Moscow. Craftsmen undertook much of the production. Okay, so most of the production was undertaken by craftsmen, but large factories existed along craft workshops. So it's not that everything was dependent on large factories. In Europe, what happened? Everybody was so fascinated by factories that ultimately they only knew about factories. Here it is not like that. Along with the factories, parallelly, workshops were also running. Craft workshops were also running. Many factories were set up in the 1890s when Russia's railway networks was extended. This happened in France also. Okay, this happened in other parts of Europe also. So railway extended by 1890s and foreign investment in industry increased. It's not that industry was not there, but they were so happy with the craftsman work, the agriculture and all that, which satisfied their needs. Coal production doubled and iron and steel output quadrupled. So doubled, and it was 4 times iron and steel. The produce of iron and steel was 4 times greater. Coal was also doubled. So this is something very important, and it is completely unique from the other places of Europe. By the 1900s, in some areas, factory workers and craftsmen were almost equal in number. So it's not that one was overruling. It's not that the factory workers were overruling. It is not at all like that. Both were parallelly the same. Like factory was also prominent, craftsmen also prominent. It's not that only the machines did work, even people did work with their hands. So these points are very important. Just take a look at the slide again. St. Petersburg, Moscow. Large factories, craftsmen, the network extended, coal production was also encouraged, it was doubled, iron and steel also. Russia was so good in all these production. And of course, apart from that, it was a main exporter of grain. Then by the 1900s, some of the factory workers and craftsmen were almost equal in number. So this was a condition of Russia where both were equal in number. It's not that one dominated and the other one did not. So they were always equal in number.